Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heintz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davidson. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. Welcome back to State of the Steelers, where today it's a little bit sad news going on. Steelers are more than likely out of the playoffs. We're looking at what happened this past weekend against the Baltimore Ravens as the Pittsburgh Steelers fall to 5-8 and lose to the Ratbirds 16-14 in a game where Kenny Pickett was knocked out early. Mitch Trubisky came in. The Steelers let Mitch cook, and we all saw the thumbnail. This is what happens when you let Bisky cook. How you guys doing today? We'll start off with you, Mark. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Nice sunny day here in Australia. We're a few days away, or I guess like in personal life stuff. We're from 10 days away from Christmas, or 11 or whatever, 12 for you guys or whatever it is. So Christmas around the corner. It is difficult that the Steelers lost that game. I thought that was a very good chance to win. Even with Trubisky in there, he did throw the game away, and I give praise to. I thought, slowly, I'm trying to find my Matt Canada hat. I thought he played pretty well or called a good game and that kind of stuff. But it does suck. Like, that was one where you're thinking, if you can just get that win, you have a bit more of a chance. Because now you need a lot of things to happen. You need so many things to happen. It's not over yet. It's not over. But you need a lot of teams to lose. I think about three teams have to lose 3 games out of 4. I think it's the Chargers, the Jets, and the Patriots need to lose 3 out of 4 for us to have a chance. The Browns can even make it still. The Browns, the Jags can still make it too. So there's a lot of that last one is basically it's up for grabs is the Jets, Chargers, and Patriots for that 7th. Pretty much.
Well, as long as I still see the Steelers in the hunt on the TV
they're
screen,
still there.
I'm going to say that there's still a chance.
There's still a chance.
At the end of the day, go ahead.
Well, they just need 3. They just need the 3 teams to lose. Basically, Jets, Chargers, and Patriots to lose this week, and then there's a bigger chance. But then, even if all the teams, so we can't be knocked out this week, basically. But then you have. No, you can't. Not this week. You can't be knocked out this week. But next week, if the Jets win a game, then we're out.
Oh yeah. It's going to be tough. But the Jets are dealing with quarterback issues of their own. So who knows? Nathan, how are you doing? How are you feeling after watching the Ravens and Steeler game? Are you optimistic that the Steelers can make a playoff push?
Nah, it's over. Yeah, that was nailed in the coffin. Realistically. I know you guys want us to keep the optimism all for that and everything. Anything can happen, but let's be realistic. They really needed a win out. And that's why I said before the season started, they needed to take advantage of some of these easier games with the Jets at home, the Patriots at home, and they didn't do that. And I think when you look back at some of those games, those were some daggers there. But I like the optimism you guys are presenting. If they get in at 9-8, then salute to that, but they're not eliminated yet.
They're not yet.
So that's still floating around, stuff like that. But it was a disappointing game all around. Very disappointing.
No, I agree 100%. It's a game in which I agree with you, Nathan. I think this season is for the most part a wrap. I mean, do we keep up hope while there's still hope there to be kept? Of course, because we're fans. But in reality, when you're looking at the percentages there for the possibility of the Steelers making the playoffs, I think at this point it's 0.2%. And so, if the Steelers
you heard it here, Christmas Eve, they will be eliminated.
I hope not.
Sorry, Mark. I know you wanted to wake up with a nice gift. But...
Well, that scenario I did last week or whatever, it all went wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It started with
You're getting cold for Christmas, bro.
Yeah, the Bengals beat the Browns and shellacked them, and then we lose with the Ravens. It all just went wrong. My scenario of 9 games went wrong because we've been eliminated from the North too. So now the North is going to be won by the Ravens or the Bengals. But Yeah, the next look, I in reality too, guys. Like, I hope we can get there. If we get there, I think it'd just be the best. I think it'd be the most comical thing ever if we made it to the playoffs. It'd be fantastic, right? But the thing is, you got to win a game, and the game coming up versus the Carolina Panthers, you got to win that. So I just want to see a strong push. If they can get like 3 out of 4 wins in the next 4 games, I think it'd be good. At least beat the Browns or the Ravens or someone. I don't know.
So, Mark, we have somebody
Hi,
trying
meh.
to help. Hi, meh.
I was pronouncing something well off.
Yeah, something, maybe in Big Blues, work area of work. So we have a couple of bit of breaking news. Chris Wormley, it's official. He's torn his ACL. He's going to be out the rest of the year. We were kind of talking about this prior to the show starting on. I think that this is, this is going to be I think this is going to be it for him in a black and gold uniform. I'm not sure how much time he had left. I think this may have been his last year. If not, next year was his last. But a ACL tear this late into the season, in the middle of December, doesn't usually spell good as far as his optimism for returning next season. He's a bigger guy. He's a defensive lineman. We've seen some of these smaller, quicker, faster type of, lighter type of folks who have gone through this injury, and it take more than a year to get back. And so wish him all the luck in the world. It's significantly unfortunate. How do the Steelers recover from losing somebody like Chris Wormley? We'll start off with you, Mark.
Well, it's first of all, I just want to say, like, some of these things you look on a personal level too, like the player, right? Like, it sucks. Like, it overall sucks. Like, he wasn't like going to be a Steeler for life or something like that. But he played okay with us. And when you think about it, these guys got a job. And he could possibly be out now for what we said till next year, and then 2024, then when we come back. So his career might be done, which overall sucks. But they did go out and sign a defensive tackle. Can't remember his name, Jonathan Marshall from the Jets. So he's going to, I guess, come
Whoever
in.
that is.
But whoever that guy is, right? I did a little video on him, but I have no idea who he is. They apparently signing back Ola Adenahi too, so he's coming back probably to on the practice squad. So I guess someone's going to be, when Wormley goes down, someone comes up, next man up mentality. But it sucks for Wormley. But the defense has been pretty bad on running the football, right? They just can't stop the middle of the field running right through. And I think also the Raiders game too, like, that's going to be a tough game with Jacobs. He's going to run all over us if we can't stop that. It's a big area of need, I think, for the draft next year. Cameron Hayward doesn't look the same. Montrevious Adam gets in there. Tyson Alualu looks pretty old too. Was it this year? And then it was this year, right? That Stephon Tuitt retired, right? Wasn't it? It wasn't last year, was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was officially this year, but he was out last year because of the death of his brother.
So we were talking about him, I think, at the very start of the year, saying, will he play, won't play? They haven't really addressed that middle of the field, that anchor there. The linebackers like Devin Bush and Jack don't really want to cause havoc and be physical in that area. They're allowing what big run teams like the Ravens, the Browns to run over us. It's something I wish that we could do. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be fun to see Najee do in crew, but it's like, it's hard to watch. I don't know. He's going to be missed for sure, but it just sucks on a personal level too. The guy was almost finished the season was 4 games away. It's awful.
No, yeah, for sure. What about you, Nathan? Do you see the loss of Wormley being one that's going to make this team, is going to be missed? I mean, is the running game going to get worse? The pass defense going to get worse? What do you think?
He's not really like a game-changing guy. He hasn't really been a starter since he's been here. Well, I guess really last year he kind of was with Tuitt and stuff, but he's replaceable. He's a replaceable dude. Like, he's made some good plays and stuff like that. Like last year filling in, he had a decent season last year, filling in for Stephon Tuitt. And then this year his role kind of wasn't quite where it was last year. But he's not a game changer defensively or anything. He's not somebody you look at and is like, dang, man, we're definitely going to take a big step back because he's out or something. And that's not saying, like, I think he's a fine role player. I think he's a fine 4th or 5th defensive lineman on a team or something like that. But he's somebody that going into the rest of this year, going into next year, it's not going to be, oh man, like Chris Wormley's at the top of our minds as to why the defense is the way it is.
Right. No, I agree 100%. Chris Wormley was a guy that, I'll be honest with you, when I did my 53 prediction, was a guy that was possibly on the outside looking in for me. I thought of his age. I thought of the his production outside of Baltimore Ravens games hasn't really been there, and he's kind of been a liability when it comes to the run. We got a couple of questions in here. We'll get to that one for you here in a little bit. But Glenn Carrier asks, do we get to see the third string quarterback this week? I think that there's quite a bit of possibility for that. When you look at Coach Tomlin and what he said at his press conference today, he didn't show a lot of confidence for it being Mitch Trubisky. He kind of left it open. Do you guys see that as a possibility of the return of the GOAT, Mason Rudolph?
Yeah. Well, you're right, because Tomlin didn't have a clear answer. He pretty much said there's a 50-50 chance for both, right? Now, right. Tomlin never has a clear answer in anything anyway, but he pretty much was like, well, we're going to see the week work out. I think that at this point, if Kenny's still in protocol, whatever he's in, the league wants to look into that. They probably will rest Kenny again. I would rather see Kenny in there, but Tomlin was pretty much like, you know what, it's 50-50, which means there's no real true quarterback number two. I want to see Rudolph in there just because I want to see some of the Rudolph haters, I guess, see him throw some TDs, but then I don't know, just give the guy a chance anyway. Like, we've already seen Trubisky, and we're pretty much going to lose. If we do lose out, can't make the playoffs, why not spark it up and see what can happen? The only thing is that Rudolph hasn't had a chance to play all season, so he could be rusty. But he's still a veteran, still a quarterback in the play. I reckon it'd be fun to see him there. I get this real bad taste now, like with the, and I thought back to the Jets game that I missed because Trubisky, I went out for a few brewskis, and I ended up missing, Kenny Pickett's first start. In history. And I was like, because I really was like, I must have been subconsciously like, you know what? I don't want to watch the Jets game because of the Trubisky. And it's never happened in my life for a very long time. Trubisky just starting there, nothing like, he was doing really well, but then he went and threw 3 picks. And I was like, oh boy. So I don't know, man. I have no idea, to be honest. Coach Tomlin could be saying one thing, meaning another. Do we see Rudolph versus Sam Darnold? Is that the scenario?
Man, that would be crazy. And I think it would be a game that could potentially lead to being in favor of Mason Rudolph. I never thought I'd hear so much of the fan base push to see Mason Rudolph start a game. It's kind of like we're in the back, in the upside down world. What about you, Nathan? What are your thoughts? Who do you want to see play if Kenny Pickett can't go?
At this point, I honestly, I don't really care if whoever starts, if Kenny doesn't play. It's at a point where, look, they're not really getting anywhere this season. So if it's something of you want to play Mason, give him an opportunity. Mitch has run out of opportunities. Sorry. Okay, cool. If you want to go with Mitch, have Mason's the backup. You put Mason in if Mitch is stinking it up. Okay, cool. At the end of the day, even though they're at 5-8, they're still playing to win games. They know that their season still technically is alive, and whatever they think they do is the best. It is what it is. I'm just going to kind of sit back and, hope we just kind of continue to see, some guys play well and everything like that. That's how it is the rest of the year. But yeah, it is kind of crazy that after all the hate Mason Rudolph's really gotten, which I think a lot of it's unnecessary, not because. And I kind of feel bad for him because he hasn't really, I don't really know what he's done to like deserve the type of hate that he gets. Like, people think that this guy like is like the worst person like walking the planet or something like that. Like, I don't really understand. He hasn't done anything to blow the fans away. Obviously he had his opportunity in 2019, back and forth between him and Duck, blah, blah. There's nothing wrong with thinking Mason's not a very good quarterback as a starter and not wanting him to be your starter. But if it's something of like him just kind of getting opportunity at this point in the season, stuff like that, I mean, sure, go for it and stuff like that. It is kind of funny though, of just kind of seeing how much fans don't want to see Mitch, and they turn back to see see Mason. They'd rather have him.
This happens all the time, though. It happens with the fan base, with the next person behind the guy who's starting. Like, when Kenny Pickett struggles, they want to see Mitch. When he struggles, they want to see Mason. When Mason struggles, they want to see Zach Gentry. When Zach Gentry struggles, they want to see this. And like, I have been on record, I'm slowly turning the corner on this whole Matt Canada idea because I think he's been calling a better game. And I could have been, maybe wrong in some of my takes and stuff like that. But it's like it's forever the turning corner of the quarterback of like who you have, they struggle, and then people go, he sucks, he's terrible, next guy. But with Rudolph, he hasn't had a chance to play this year, and they still hate him. I don't understand. Like, I know from a coaching thing, like they might go back to Trubisky because he knows the offense and he's the mobile guy and whatnot. But I reckon just give him a shot and see what's the worst can happen.
So for me, I would like to see Mason out there for a couple of reasons. The first one is going to be so that he can showcase his ability. He's going to be a free agent this upcoming draft.
Yeah,
this upcoming season. I'm sorry. And there's some teams that are out there that don't have first round picks, such as the New Orleans Saints. You know, I brought it up before that he might be wearing the black and gold of New Orleans next year. You know, they're probably going to be out of a quarterback. Winston wasn't what they thought they were, or what they thought he was going to be. And, you know, it's kind of a little bit of a cluster out there in New Orleans. So there's a good chance he could go out there. If Mason goes out there this week and lights it up a little bit or is impressive, to say the least, then that could increase his free agency stock. Now, what that can do for the Pittsburgh Steelers is if he increases his free agency stock and he makes a certain amount of money and he gets a certain amount of playing time, that could equate to a comp pick in the following year. That could equate to a third, fifth, sixth round pick. Either way, it's something better than nothing by letting him go. And so if it doesn't work out, he stinks up the joint, the Steelers lose. There's 5% or less chance that the Steelers make the playoffs this year. It's not really hurting us too bad. There's some benefit for there if he goes out there and performs. He's had the longest tenure under Matt Canada. And so I would anticipate that more of the playbook should be open with him versus the other quarterbacks. And so I think it could be a good opportunity for him to go out there and showcase what he has. But with that said, if he does well, like super well, do you keep him in? What do you think, Mark?
What, for the season?
Yeah, if he goes out there, lights it up, 4 TDs, no interceptions, 325 yards.
I would, you know what? I'd be so freaking, it'd be just amazing. Like just to shut everyone up. Because there are so many. Look, I think we can collectively agree that Trubisky isn't the guy. He come in and was really weird, didn't really fit the mold, you know, and he had some good spurts and went down the field, sure, but he was throwing interceptions. But to see everyone rag on Rudolph pretty much his entire career, to shut up so many Steeler fans, I think it'll just be funny. I think it'd really be a Steeler narrative we can get behind. And of course, if you're going to win us games, it'd be fantastic. But like I said before in one of my videos, like I'm not going to watch the guy if he goes to Indy. I'm not going to be like a Colts fan if he goes that way. Once he's gone. See you later. But he has been, I think, from the very get-go, the start of the season, like everything was kind of mismanaged to a certain degree. There wasn't a three-way competition. There was pretty much they were giving Mitch a job and other guys reps. But it would be great for his confidence and just to be like, told you so. Like I can play. I got 2 TDs. He has a winning record. He's 9-7-1. And he also got bashed up too. Like he got bashed up by the Ravens, so they've been headhunting our quarterbacks for a while.
Yeah,
right? He bashed up. I can't remember his name. The safety came down the box and knocked him out. Right? It'd just be funny to see everyone. Thomas, right? Freak out. And you're right. They all hated him. They all booed him. And now they'd be like, imagine. Here's the thing that I think would be funny, right? And I'm just thinking outside the box. Imagine if Pickett was out for 4 weeks. Someone said in the comments, out for 4 weeks, right? But Tomlin did one of those things where like, he's got a shoulder, and we don't really know if he's actually out. And they just said he was out, and Rudolph wins a playoff game. That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing, dude. That would be a Christmas miracle.
I know, but it'd just be funny. I'd just be like, you. So many people just have just go with the motion, right? It'd be just hilarious if it happened.
Yeah, it would make for a good story. It would be really entertaining and funny to see people's reactions on that.
They wouldn't know what to do. They'd probably delete their Twitter.
To go from being booed on, you know, just for walking on a field for a preseason game, to be possibly, you know, cheered upon and you know, people asking for him to come in is insane. You know, I think that, you know, this game that's upcoming, it's in Carolina, and so it's an away game. Everybody that kind of lives in that area, though, it's like a military type city. You know, a bunch of Army bases are around there. So a lot of the folks that live in that area aren't from the Carolinas. And so you're going to get a lot of Steeler fans at this game. I think if Mitch Trubisky starts to, struggle early, I think we might hear the Rudy chants coming through through the stands, and that would be crazy, man. That would be insane to see.
That is funny.
Now, we did have a question earlier. I kind of want to run this by you guys. Let me go see if I can find it. It's a friend of ours that's been on. I know he's been on your channel a couple of times there, Mark. I'm not going to say his whole name.
R2D2. He thinks that that Kenny Pickett's the exact same as Ryan Leaf. Don't worry, mate. Check out my channel tomorrow. You're featured quite heavily for about 19 minutes.
I heard one of my friends, Trevor's like, I was recording a video that night that you were live. I guess you were on recordings for some other show. And he goes, "Hey, your buddy Mark's getting really mad at somebody." And I was
like, I've got that much content with this bloke. It's not even funny. Like, thank you for that.
He says rookie quarterback class in order from best to worst. 1, B Zappy. 2, B Purdy. 3, Kenny Pickett. 4, Malik Willis. What do y'all think about that order from first to last? Do y'all agree, disagree? Let's start off with you, Mark. For you the most here.
I disagree because it's only been 10 games or whatever it's been. That's only been a selection of games, and I guess Brock Purdy's played one game or something like that. Is that right?
I honestly don't. I know that he played against Tom Brady, and he won, but I haven't even seen the highlights. I don't know.
So where it all started with 4U2PN2, which sounds like a bloody router number. Where it all started there, right, was he brought up and said that Trubisky was better than Kenny Pickett. Do you guys think that Trubisky is better than Kenny Pickett?
Not long term, no.
Okay, what about yourself, Nate?
No.
Right.
No.
That's where it all started, man. That's where it all started. I'm not trying to have a attack at I was really just, blown away and like, what is happening? Like, is this meant to be a troll account? What is going on? And then I guess, we bring up the notion of like rookie quarterbacks, and he says, Kenny Pickett. I'm not saying Kenny Pickett's the best, but I think Brock Purdy's played one game, I think, in the NFL when he beat Tom Brady. And also, that makes no sense either. Brock Purdy beating Tom Brady, all of us could go and do that if we had the 49ers offense or defense too. You can't compare a rookie quarterback to Tom Brady's last year in the NFL, pretty much. You compare Purdy to Tom Brady.
I mean, dude, Mitch beat Tampa Bay. Like,
exactly. Am I freaking out? My thing's going.
He played a good game against them. Like, Tampa Bay isn't, and credit to Brock Purdy, man. Like, that's a whole nother story within itself. Credit to him, great story. Who knows really what he's all able to do, what he's going to do, and stuff like that. But so many other guys have beat Tampa Bay also. So it's not like that this is some juggernaut or something like that the last pick in the draft beat or anything like that. So he played a good game. He made some good throws. Don't think he turned over the ball or anything like that. So it's definitely something with the Niners. I mean, hey, you have that to look at and stuff.
But he's only to me, he's played one game, whereas Kenny's had a whole season of work. You're comparing one game against 10. You got to wait until maybe he catches up. I would wait until maybe the end of next year, or to just right now. I don't think you can compare them. And I'm not even sure what Bailey Zappi's done. I don't think he's played a few games too. So I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think it's way too early. But to me, where this whole thing started with 4U2 NPN WXYZ, it all started with saying that Trubisky was better than Pickett. I don't think he is. I think Pickett's been playing really well. He's not turned the ball over. I think Pickett has been running the football better, and the offense has been moving, and he hasn't been making silly decisions like Trubisky did in that game. Trubisky went down to the 19, threw an interception. He went down to the 26 and threw an interception. They were all on first downs, except for one of them was on second down. I think it's just a nonsensical argument, but it will be in my video tomorrow. It goes for about 19 minutes. Have you got a spare 19 minutes?
Oh yeah, we'll watch it, dude, for sure.
Yeah, whatever.
I definitely, do want to, kind of go through this though. So Kenny Pickett for the year, he's played 10 games. He's 4-5, which I don't know if you can really count the loss on him. I mean, he only played one series. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, I would say 4-4. Let's just take that one game out. So he's 4-4. He's 191 for 294. So that's 65% completion for 170 or 1,797 yards, 4 touchdowns, rating of 74.9, long of 57, 8 interceptions, sacked 24 times.
He's been sacked how many times?
24.
God. in that amount of games.
Yeah, so in 10 games,
Freaking
he did get sacked in the 10th game. So in 10 games, that's what, like 2.4 times
That's
a game.
freaking terrible in 10 games.
And so Brock Purdy, he's played in 5 games, but he only started 1, so he's 1-0. He's 45 of 67, so 67.2 completion, 461 on the yards, 4 touchdowns, rating of 94.2, long of 32, and 2 interceptions. So he does have more touchdowns than Kenny and less interceptions. And I will say that is, but his sample size is pretty small. And so, but I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen him play, so I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know where he played at in college. I don't know anything about him to say his physical attributes. A lot of guys in here are saying that he's like Duck 2.0, smart but with a weak arm.
Who knows, dude? Who freaking knows how good?
To me, though, it's not really
great. If not,
it's not really irrelevant to the Steelers situation, though. These guys don't play for our team. I think it's really, what we were meant to do. Were we meant to go out and get Mr. Irrelevant or get Brock Purdy, but rank him higher? I don't know. I really don't understand. Like, they're playing in different systems, different offenses. Also, Brock Purdy's got like Debo, George Kittle. The offensive line's amazing in San Fran. San Fran's a good team. They run up the score on their defense.
Well, dude, look at their offensive system they run too, man.
Well, I will say this: that offensive system that offensive system couldn't do jack with Trey Lance, and so I think there's something to do. Yeah, Jimmy G did a little bit better than Trey Lance, in my opinion.
Trey Lance has never even got an opportunity, man.
He played like 3 games, and he wasn't looking good. He hasn't looked good in preseason. He hasn't looked good at it.
Maybe he just might not be what they hoped he would. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think he was. I mean, you look at his sample size in college. He only played like 17 games or something like that in college, and I think they were looking at the physical attributes more than a lot of other things that go along with.
It seems like what a lot of NFL coaches look at, like the ceilings, the floors, the potential, rather than what's already been done.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, this for you does kind of have a point. You look at Bailey Zappi. He's played in 4 games. He's won 2 of them. The other 2 he didn't start, so I don't know how they went. His completion is higher. He's at 70.7 completion. His touchdowns he has more touchdowns in less games. He has 5, 3 interceptions, so that's less. And Bailey Zappi has I told you guys that before, he has a defensive coach for an offensive coordinator. And, it is what it is. So, I mean, I understand his point. I've been pretty critical of Kenny Pickett myself, as far as his attributes and his skill level. Not so much maybe his ceiling. I have no idea where it's at yet. But, I understand his point. A lot of people looked at the Pittsburgh Steelers and said that they reached for some guys and they picked up in the first round in the past, and even positions like Najee being, picking up a running back in the first round, and, Artie Burns and Terrell Edmonds, these guys have been accused of being reach. I think that might be what this guy's trying to say. I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but he kind of does have a point. What do y'all think? Do y'all think it's invalid or?
I'm saying he's wrong because I already said my case on that 5-hour stream. No, to be honest, like I find it really funny how we compare them straight away. So straight away, and the different systems too. The New England has a good running attack too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they're so good, why do they go back to Mac Jones? Mac Jones is playing now.
Yeah.
So what? And look, I wish them all luck. I wish every single rookie's luck, right? And you look at that. You look at the line we have with Kenny, and even the injury, like they just let up straight away. And our line hasn't been the best in pass protection, and we can't run the football. Nothing really happens, right? So I don't know. It just to me is you got to wait like a year or 2 to really look at it. And if they've only played 4 games or sparingly here, they haven't played the amount of time that Kenny Pickett has played. And also, who are you playing? What teams? He versed the Eagles and the Bills and sides like that. I don't know. I just think it's way too early to say, Kenny Pickett sucks, or the Mr. Irrelevant's way better. But you got like guys like George Kittle in that offense, man, is beyond ridiculous. So I think the Niners have a chance to go to the playoffs and beyond, and we don't.
Well, I'll say this: George Kittle, I think Pat Freiermuth can be comparable. You look at their receivers. I think that George Pickens is good enough to start on the 49ers and be better than what they have as an option. Now, beyond that, Probably not. I mean, you're looking at McCaffrey as their running back, and we're looking at Najee Harris as ours. Najee has a certain skill set. It's not the same as McCaffrey. McCaffrey, I mean, if we're trying to say that they're the same player, that's false. McCaffrey is able to do some crazy things with the ball in his hand from the backfield with the ball in the air. Najee Harris is a more of a physical back that he's finally trying to, starting to figure out. And so I wouldn't put that the 49ers are that far ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially when it comes to their skill positions.
I think they are.
I mean, maybe. I mean, who do you? I mean, I'm not saying that Kittle is.
Well, are you just talking? Are you just talking like receivers and tight ends and stuff?
Well, you have receivers, tight ends. I'm talking about talent wise, yeah. On the offense,
just those offensive skill positions that you're talking.
Correct.
About. Okay. Well, yeah, McCaffrey. When McCaffrey's healthy, he's definitely a top running back. Deebo Samuel, he's been banged up a little bit this year, but we know what he can do. Kittle's glass himself, but when he's playing, he's definitely a high-end guy. He's a great blocker. Brandon Ayuk, he hasn't really flourished into really anything special, but he's still kind of okay. But I just, when you look at San Francisco's offense ever since Kyle Shanahan came in, like, dude, like they plug in anybody and it works. Like you look at the running backs, even for Christian McCaffrey, man, they've gone through Raheem Mostert, they've gone through Jeff Wilson, they've gone through Matt Breida. Like they've gone through such a handful of guys and they find ways to make it work. And all that stuff like that. So skill position players, like, yeah, like it's not drastically like head over heels or anything for San Francisco, but you really got to incorporate what they do offensively compared to what the Steelers do. And that's why they are always so successful, and at least how they have been since their Super Bowl year. Mm-hmm. And now, on the other hand, with everything else, San Francisco is definitely a mile ahead of the Steelers in multiple other categories. But yeah, offensively, like the Steelers don't have a bad offensive group. They really don't. They have a good young group of guys that can turn into a special group. But you got to give that time, and you got to strengthen and improve in the offseason the other key positions to make that work too.
Well, I mean, here's Trey Lance with the 49ers. He's this year was 48.4% completion, 194 yards. He only played 2 games.
Yeah, I think he got hurt that third game.
He only had 194 yards going into his third game. That's pretty poor. I mean, this is,
he wasn't very good his first 2 games.
Yeah, he wasn't very good. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to go against this offensive coordinator stuff and, and the offense and the design and the game plan. But, this is a guy who was in between 2 quarterbacks, Brock Purdy, who I don't know anything. I haven't even watched the highlights of that game. And then you also have Trey Lance, Jimmy G, and Brock Purdy, and Lance is in between those guys in the same, with the same team around him, and he didn't perform. So, I do think that there is something of the players being involved into it. I don't think Trey Lance is a guy, but to say or to blame or put any blame on Kenny Pickett on this past game, that's ridiculous. He only played a series and a half.
Yeah, I mean,
who
knows? He could have won that game. They still could have lost. Who knows? Who ultimately knows? So that's not even a loss on his mark. Give me a break.
I don't know how fans can be ragging on Kenny when he gets knocked out. And how can this whole week be about Kenny? It should be about the guy burning down the house.
Yeah, and there's Mitch Trubisky threw 3 interceptions. In between those 3 interceptions, I thought he played well.
He did play well.
Man, as soon as he got to the point,
game, bro.
Yeah, I thought he played
even up
well.
In the fourth quarter. It was such a winnable game.
I agree. It was a winnable game throughout the entire time.
He killed it, dude. He did. And look, this isn't saying Mitch played bad the whole game. He made some nice down the field throws. He made some. He helped him get up the field a handful of times. But when the moment mattered, I mean, throwing 3 interceptions, pretty much when you're at least 2 of them in the red zone is god awful.
Yeah. You can't do that. And the thing is, this is part of who Mitch Trubisky is. This has been his MO since Chicago. He's a stare the receiver down, doesn't look him off,
Yeah.
and he gets in trouble when he does those types of things. You know, the defensives, he's put enough tape out there for defenses to see that, to know that, and to say, hey, if he's looking to the left, he's going to throw to the left. And so, you know, because of that limits your ability, and that limits what you're able to do and put out there. And of course, he cost the Steelers this game. The defense didn't do any help with, you know, I saw a thing in there that said, you know, you hold the team down to 16 points. It's not on the defense, but you know, when you're looking at Anthony Brown as the quarterback, they shouldn't be scoring 16 points. They shouldn't have the time of possession that they have. They shouldn't have the running ability that they had. And you have players like Cam Hayward, Miles Jack talking after the game saying, we knew what was going to come at us and we couldn't stop it. You know, that doesn't mean or equate to a successful winning formula when it comes to the defense. I think the defense is just to blame. They couldn't make the stops when needed to. No. In the last portion of the game, they needed was a 3rd and 5, and they allowed them to get the 3rd and 5 on the ground where everybody inside Acrisure Stadium knew they were going on the run.
Everybody knew what they were doing. That's something I'll just never understand with teams in this league, dude. Is like when every soul on this planet knows what play is going to be ran and they can't stop it. Like, it's unbelievable. It's different if it's 4th and 1 and you do a QB sneak or something like that. That's always hard to stop. But dude, when you have 4 or 5 yards to stop them, like I don't know what to tell you. I really don't.
Now, this question here, and I'm going to read it just because I want to answer this. Mitch stats are 4 TD to 5 interceptions. Kenny's are 4 to 8 interceptions. Are you friends with 4U? I'm just kind of curious. Let's stop it. As happens, let's stop the BS. Talk about the quarterback seriously. Quarterback Kenny stares down receivers as well. Now, I will say this. In the beginning, he did. But when you look at the last game that he played in against the Falcons, in the first drive, there was a pass that I said that I liked the most out of him. And that was one on 3rd down where he's looking to the right, progresses, and finds Muth on the far left side and gets a 1st down. He doesn't stare down his receivers in every aspect.
Dude, you know what, bro? If Kenny could throw for 8 touchdowns and break the record, and this Malvo dude would still think that this guy is the worst quarterback on the planet. I mean, seriously.
I got a
like,
point.
This might be Mitch. This really might be, for all we know. I don't know. It really might be. I don't know.
I got a point, guys. You know, you say that he stares down receivers. There was one point where Jalen Warren saved Mitchell Trubisky throwing another hospital pass. Do you remember that was like a screen? Now, sure, if you have to go there, I get it, right? I get that's part of the plan, sure. But it looked like he threw the ball. He was like checked out. There was 2 guys on him, and Warren cut 2 places, then cut again and went for a 1st down. So you probably are right to a certain degree where he's staring him down. And you can even see that, like, I know it's funny how Steelers fans will be like, well, you know, go to the middle of the field. And then when Trubisky's like, okay, I will next time I get in there. When he does that, 2 picks. How do you not see those guys? Sims fell down, right? Of course, I was like, he fell down. Maybe that's not on him. But the other ones was like a dead set throw to Muth. There was like 3 guys in there and got picked off. I don't know. I just think he played well. Mitch played really well. But if you want to win games like this, then don't turn it over. That negates everything, I think. It's like, you played bad. You lost the game.
Yeah. No, you really did.
Now, when it comes to also like what you said right now, where he was staring down and he was trying to throw it to Jalen Warren. You're talking about this last game, right? The one throw that Kenny Pickett had. That was after he was concussed.
No, that was Mitchell. Mitchell Trubisky threw one, threw it to Warren, and Warren made 3 or 5 moves and made the play look really good. Now, I know it happens all the time, but to me, it could have been a really bad throw, but Warren made him look a lot better.
Right. Now, I'm not saying that what's the word I'm looking for? I ain't saying that that Kenny's better than Mitch or Mitch is better than Kenny. I'll be honest. I think both have some concerns for me. More Mitch Trubisky than Kenny Pickett, just because of how long, you know, Mitch Trubisky has been a quarterback for this, you know, in the NFL. We know what he is and what he has. You know, I'm not saying that. What's the word I'm looking for? How do I want to phrase this? I'm not saying that one's better than the other. I think they both have some growth, or they're both, you know, they're not the best quarterbacks at this point in time, right? You know, you can look at the stats, you can look at both of them and say, all right, you know, one has twice as many interceptions as touchdowns, and the other guy who's a veteran in this league couldn't beat a 3rd string quarterback the other day. And so they both got their faults, but at least one of them has the opportunity to still grow and hasn't proven himself or shown himself to be that, that he's going to be this guy. He still has room to grow. I do agree with you guys that we need to let him grow and see what he has. Now, this week, I'm not willing to put that growth and development at risk of his health. You're looking at this being his second time that has been reported that he has a concussion. The first time was kind of iffy. I was in stadium for the first one. I thought, I actually was standing. My seats are right behind where he went down against the Buccaneers. It looked like to me in stadium right there that he had the air knocked out of him. And I think that the host Tua situation and scare that happened at that time is what kept him out of the game that game. He was able to return full practice, full participant immediately starting the week after. That hasn't been the case this week. He's in the protocol. He hasn't practiced yet. So I don't think he ends up practicing, even if he's cleared. Tomlin isn't the type of guy to play a rookie without practicing a full schedule or a good part of the schedule of the weekly schedule. And so I think that it's going to end up being, I would hope for it to be Mason. We have, Zach.
I got a question for you, right? And I'll ask both of you. I'll start with you first, Daniel. What are the scenarios they start Trubisky? And what if he gets benched for Mason Rudolph? Is Trubisky's career over?
I would say in the black and gold, yeah. I don't think he's going to want to be a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you've been benched for a rookie quarterback and then you got benched for the guy that everybody booed in preseason, it's not a good look.
His career as a starter, as we know, it would be over. Yes,
right.
Yeah.
He would make a fine backup in the league, but his career as a starter, he would never be viewed as an answer as a starter anywhere else.
As a starter for Trubisky, right? He won one game this year. Is that right? The Bengals game. Right?
Yeah, the Bengals game. That was it.
That's it. That's it, right? Then he came back to win the Bucs game, and then absolutely went to pieces in last week's game.
Right.
So if he comes out and they're going to go with Trubisky because he's the guy, I guess, for the backup, and I agree with you. I don't think they should play Kenny either. I think if you want to rest him, play him versus Raiders. That'd be a great game at home. I think that'd be fun to see Kenny Pickett versus Raiders if he's healthy, right? But if they play Trubisky and he plays the exact same way, it doesn't feel like anything. It feels like Kenny's game's gotten better. Trubisky's game's just been exactly the same. So I don't know.
Z, enjoy Anthony Brown next year at quarterback, bro.
Yeah.
God. Dude, that guy that was he was freaking passing before the game. Oh my God. I think that's what I mean, dude. Like, you knew that guy was not going to throw the ball, and you could not stop J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards or whoever was running the ball. That's freaking
I had never seen a team line up so many receivers at quarterback in my life. Because that's what they look like. Those guys, they all look like even like they look like they're runners. They're not quarterbacks. They're receivers. They're running backs. And they don't throw the ball well, in my opinion. That goes all the way up to the top as Lamar Jackson. And yet the Steelers just can't seem to get over it. I'm pretty concerned about that, to be honest with you guys.
I want to ask if Zach can get answer this question. Zach, as a Ravens fan, did you think you're going to win that game from the start with Kenny in there? If he can let me know, that'd be fantastic. But
yeah, how comfortable did you feel after Kenny Pickett went down? Did you feel that?
Yeah.
Did you think that all right, it's the Mitch show the way we thought it was going to be, which is not a good showing. The Mitch show.
The first drive was amazing. You said to me in my live chat, quarterback controversy. I'm like, hang on a minute. That was like 2 passes down the field. George Pickens for 40-something yards. I was like, how do you go from that to absolutely burning the house down, like in your picture?
I also said after the second interception, there goes the quarterback controversy.
Devin, what's up, bro?
What's going on? Here we go, show. Make sure you guys like and subscribe.
Here we go, show.
Check out Devin does some good stuff, some good parody stuff too. With like the I think I saw one of your ones, Devin, was when you're in the car with Mike Tomlin talking to Mike Tomlin. Sorry, Mark Canada Mark Canada. I'm stuffing up. Matt Canada talking to Mike Tomlin in the car. Passing notes back and forth. He does some really good parody stuff, some good comedian stuff too. So fun.
I gotta check that out. Yeah, definitely so. And so, to kind of I guess put a bow on what we saw this past week. What do you guys think the Steelers have to do where do they need to improve this week? What do we need to see improvement in this week to say that they've moved on from this game and they've gotten better? We'll start off with you,
Slaughterhouse,
Nathan.
bro. Slaughterhouse.
So they have to just kill the Panthers. If not,
Yep. Not beat the Panthers 20-16, 9-6. No. If it's the Steelers are going to get over this game where they could not stop J.K. Dobbins when every single soul watching that game knew what they were going to do. When you had an offense that couldn't score touchdowns, turn the ball over 3 times in the red zone, you got to slaughter them if you want any type of redemption.
So Zach Hutchins said, once Dobbins, Marcus Williams, and Stanley were activated, I thought the Ravens would win. But once Anthony Brown came in, I thought they were going to lose, even with Kenny going out too.
Oh, really? That's so. It did feel like a winnable game. That's what you went down the field. If you got some field goals and the Chris Boswell missed field goal, the block, like, man, it did feel like it was going to be a win.
Special teams was horrible.
Oh, big time.
You know,
Presley Harvin's got to go. Don't care what anybody say. He's got to go.
How do you go from like the 2-yard punt to a 17-yard punt?
Yeah, and it's not saying he hasn't good punts. Every punter in the NFL has had good punts, but dude, the amount of he's inconsistent as it comes, dude. He's got to be the most inconsistent punter in the NFL. It's dreadful. He'll give you a great punt stuck at the 1, 2, 3 inside the 5, and then he'll give you a punt that they have the ball at the 50-yard line.
It is absolutely dreadful. I think the Ravens did some weird things that the Steelers weren't anticipating. I know on that block, that 17-yard, I mean, not on the block, on the punt, they stated that you could see the Kuntz, the center, the long snapper, look up at somebody who was coming in directly at him, and he did like a double take, like, hey, you're not supposed to be there. And then the next thing, the snap is a little high, which is no excuse. Presley needs to be able to pull that down and kick it cleanly. I'm sorry. And then I think in the post-game show, they were talking about how on the field goal block, they were lined up in a position they weren't expecting them to line up. And so Danny Smith didn't have the best game.
Dude.
Yeah, that one hurt too, man. That's one. It's like, what were they, 29 yards out for a field goal or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one hurt too. So everything kind of went wrong, but at the same time, Trubisky going down the field, you can't turn the ball over that. And then the momentum changes. And what? You're going to send the defense out there and go, oh, got to do it again. And my quarterback. Imagine Rudolph sitting there going, I can do a better job than that.
Do you think the Steelers got away from the run too soon?
Yeah, well, they only ran the ball, what, I think 16 times, I think.
I think they only ran it like twice in the fourth quarter.
The honestly, before Mitch was turning the ball over, the pass was working. They were getting the ball in guys' hands and stuff like that. So,
yeah. Sportsbook Lab says, just bring back Big Ben for the love of God. Steelers are a dead dumpster fire. The stadium is empty for Ravens versus Steelers with playoff implications on the line. The season is a complete. Oh man, that was one thing that Ben Roethlisberger had mentioned also on his podcast. He said that it didn't seem like a Ravens Steelers game.
No,
it was.
Dude, honestly, to me, the rivalry feels dead. It's felt dead for years to me. I'd say since 2018, I feel like the last 4 years, it hasn't even been a rivalry. These games aren't on prime time. You have Steeler quarterbacks in there that are either new or scrubs or whatever playing. And like, there's nothing, dude. Like there's no hype. There's no, even like what the comments said with playoff implications still technically on there for both teams. Like still there was no sellout. There was no sellout stadium. There's none of that.
The fact that the Steelers played Renegade after the block punt.
Yeah.
Said a lot.
Players are dancing around to it, all that stuff like that.
I was like, oh my God, how are y'all playing Renegade after a block punt?
The block punt? You mean the block field goal?
I mean the block field goal, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. How do y'all do this after the block field goal? It was what it was.
I think it all changed, honestly, when Kenny went out. I think when Kenny went out, it was like it was just I was nervous watching Trubisky hold the football. I really was.
Yeah.
Like he's not mobile as Kenny is mobile. Kenny brings a bit of confidence to the team. I know we're going through a real hard, weird time right now. I don't believe in bringing back Big Ben. I think Big Ben is too busy doing podcasts and having a lot of fun.
You got to move on eventually, man. We all miss him, but you got to move on.
Exactly. It's Big Ben is done. It was great, but now it's like it's Kenny time and build around him. I think for the future. But as soon as he went down, and I was like, crap. And then Trubisky came in. He's meant to come in and fill the void, but it's like he can't score points. At least Kenny was going down the field to score some points, even to these field goals, and he wasn't turning the ball over. So, and you're right. It didn't feel like a Steelers versus Raven game because you had the new quarterback. There was no Lamar Jackson, of course, too. And even Raven fans, I know a lot of Raven fans are now like, wherever Lamar goes, I go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, have fun with that. Even with them, like if you're a Ravens fan, like what do you even want them to do? Like what do you want them to do in the off? Like seriously, you want them to just sign Lamar and they can't do anything else, or you want them to strengthen the team as a whole and move on?
I want them to sign Lamar.
It's gonna be.
I hope we sign Lamar and the Raven fans come over to us. That'd be fantastic. Mention that.
Nah, I don't want them.
No, I understand for that reason, but like I saw a lot of comments, a lot of YouTubers.
Cool.
YouTubers are frustrated with the Ravens, but I'm like, you're winning. You're winning. You have like 9 wins. Look, we are.
That was still a big win for them too. Honestly, if you're a Ravens fan, like as ugly as that game probably was for you guys, like with all those guys still out and
you know who it did
Huntley there. It's still a big win.
It upset a lot of Bengals fans that the Steelers lost. You know how much crap I got? Like so much crap from Bengal fans in my comment section. Like, and we were all going for you guys the first time we do this, and y'all let us down. I'm like, all this crap, right? And I'm just like, if there's one light at the end of this tunnel, it's that the Bengals didn't get to move forward. I'm slowly starting to change my dislike from the Ravens to the Bengals when it comes to the division, and that might be because the Bengals are actually kind of good this year. You know, they have a good offense, and Burrows.
Well, they started off 1-3. They were getting written off, and then they got a lot together, and they've had a lot of stretch of wins and stuff like that with the Ravens. Even with Lamar playing, like they can't get much going. Their secondary hasn't been very good.
Sorry to cut you off. I'll tell you what, but like I hate the Bengals and I can't stand their fans. I think that is Joe Burrow is too much ego. But I think like the Ravens for me and why it's always a fun matchup. And when we go into Baltimore, it's gonna be a very hard game, right? But I always find like their defense was amazing. If you're a Ravens fan and you see those 2 picks by the linebackers, why can't our linebackers do that? You know what I'm saying? Roquan Smith, they go and get him. They got Patrick Queen from the draft too. Like he was fantastic.
They're just better.
Fantastic. They are. They're just better. They're just better. The running game was fantastic. J.K. Dobbins getting a 47-yard run. As a Steelers fan, I'm like, I wish we had that. I wish we had that mentality for the way how they play the game sometimes because they're very physical. We were not physical that day.
The reason why we don't have a middle linebacker like that is because we can't find one that has a relative in the NFL that Tomlin likes.
Tremaine Edmonds.
There's one that has a relative in the NFL that I like. That I'm
Steelers
hoping...
are a big happy family, man. It's a big happy family here, no matter what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Rob said that the Bengals fit. We make one point about the Bengals when we're a Bengals fan club. Look the amount of gold in our screen right now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, there was a lot of Bengals fans that were hating on me, and I was like, well, if there's one light at the end of this tunnel, you guys aren't going to get in as a division seed. I like I said, my hatred towards the divisional teams. It was always Ravens first. For a time, there was Bengals when they had Perfect and Pac-Man, and they were playing just dirty all the time, right? So it was shifting to them, but they're so inconsistent and so not worthy of anything. They just suck after a couple of years anyways. And so now they're, I guess it's frustrating to watch them, man. I want them to lose so bad.
I respect the Ravens though, that they're a respectable organization. Steelers and Ravens have been the best rivalry in football for quite a long time. Hasn't felt like it recently, but they typically find, not all the time, just like some other team stuff like that, but they primarily they draft pretty good more times than not. They usually have good coaching, and they always find a way of developing, being able to develop players too, and got to give them credit there.
I mean, that's what made the rivalry so good for so many years, was just because they were a successful organization. You know, you look at the Browns, they've never been a rivalry of ours because they've never won anything.
Not.
And in fact, the one time they beat the Steelers in the playoffs wasn't even them beating the Steelers. It was the Steelers beating Steelers. And that's just the bottom line. If it wasn't for those, you know, they beat themselves. And as frustrating as it is and was, it is what it is. And, you know, but that's all they've ever had. They've completely ruined their quarterback room, the Browns is, and they're never going to be relevant, in my opinion. You know, they're going to go into next. Yeah,
I think Deshaun Watson's going to flop. Be honest, I really do.
Have you seen his play? His play's been absolutely awful.
Yeah, I don't think, and really it's bad. Not saying that Watson's going to be like bad for them, but I don't think he's going to be the guy they hoped he would. I don't think he's going to bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland. I don't even think that he's going to. He might not even. I don't even think he's going to have a winning record there.
I think Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson are going to bring down the quarterback value by the time the Steelers have to pay one.
Well,
because I mean, you know, you look at what the Broncos gave up for Russell, you look at what the Browns did for Deshaun, and both of these quarterbacks are playing like absolute garbage.
Yeah,
you know, it tells you, you know. I'm extremely glad the Steelers weren't. You know, there was talks that they were in both of those camps. You know what I'm saying? That there was a possibility they were in the Deshaun Watson talk. They were in the Russell Wilson, even Aaron Rodgers. And look at how all three of those situations.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that either.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, we could have ended up in a worse situation with no picks and money. That would have been a horrible situation.
I'm still confused that they bloody moved on. I know why, because of the money and then Watson, the big name player, but they did Brissett dirty. Like, I thought he was playing pretty well in the season.
Yeah.
And now the only game they won against Houston was because the punt return, the two defensive there was no offensive anything going on.
Yeah, their defense.
I dead set saw one pass when I was watching, I think it was versus last week. He threw the football right into the dirt. Like, and it was clean pocket, right in the dirt, and overthrows, and yeah, they really stuffed it up. They're not going to win anything next few years. He has to really get into football shape. He's not in football shape. They really stuffed up. I think Brissett was like, "Oh, you know, I'm a man, and I'm going to take it out." And you know, it's all like I'm fine. But deep down inside, you got someone to take your job, and he's worse. He's beyond worse than Brissett. Brissett would be a great backup quarterback.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it is what it is. So this is going to be the last question I ask you guys, and let everybody know after I ask you. And where they can find you, and we'll put a bow on this. So we'll start off with you, Mark. Is the Pittsburgh Steelers season officially over?
No, it's not. No. If that's the question, is it officially over? No, it's not. Mathematically, they're not. It's not over yet. Even to a thing like what is determined over? If we were 1-13, it's not over. We've still got 4 games left.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't just wave the white flag and say, you know what, I don't want to be here. Some fans want us to take. Some fans are just where they're checked out and that's it. You know, whatever. Then come back in April, but it's not over. They need a lot of things to happen, but mathematically, the Steelers can still make the playoffs, and I think it would be fantastic. Rudolph can start this week and go off. Kenny comes back for the Raiders, beat them, beat the Ravens, beat the Browns. And then see if the Jets, Chargers, and the Patriots can lose, and then we're in.
There you go. What about you, Nathan? Are you hopeful as well? And where can everyone find you?
Well, Mark, all I'm gonna say is you're gonna be disappointed on Christmas. All I'm gonna tell you.
Mate. You never know. You never know.
No, you don't. They're not eliminated. I'll be cheering and rooting for them every week, as always, no matter where they're at. But yeah, I think it's over. I think it's too much of an ask to get in the playoffs with 9 wins. And I still didn't think they were going to get in like before this Ravens game and go on a run, because when you look at it, there's still at least 1 or 2 games on that schedule they were probably going to lose. You have a young offense that's still going to make mistakes, man. You have a defense that isn't reliable. It's just going to happen. They weren't going to win out or anything like that. Now it was something of like, okay, they could have, if they won a string of games, sure, they can make noise. They can make things a little fun, stuff like that. But it's still something of, there's still things to look at. You want to see them still finish on a positive note, finish strong, something that you can build off going into next year and everything. But hey, beat Carolina, beat the Raiders Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. What are you sitting at that point? 7-8, right? So 7-8, and then got the Ravens on the road, Browns at home, finished with 9 wins. I mean, you obviously would have to ask quite a few teams to lose more than not. So you would need a lot of help, but yeah, at least finish above Cleveland. Yeah. So I don't know. And it might even just work out in the Steelers' case, whether they finish 500 or not. And if they finish last, stuff like that, you go into next year, finish on a good note, do what you got to do. Like Z said, maybe you take a risk here or there, make a splash or something like that, man. Be more aggressive than what you've been. I feel like the Steelers are just so status quo in the offseason, dude.
Always,
like
yeah.
they always are. And it's like, dude, sometimes you need to do something different sometimes, man. So it's going to be an interesting offseason again. And I think there will be a little bit more aggression there. But it still could work out for them. You have a little bit of a better schedule next year. You make some of the right moves in free agency. You draft well of guys that might be able to be productive. I mean, they could be there right again in the division. They're not a team that is far away from competing in their own division or anything like that. So yeah, that's my thoughts, guys. Follow me at In Hindsight. I've just kind of really been doing the podcast here with Daniel and Mark lately or so. I've just been busy, a lot of stuff going on. Haven't really been able to put out much of my own content, but look for something this week if you guys want to follow me there, or if you are. Shout out to you all in the chat, your thoughts, your support always, all you Steeler fans in the chat. We're all on the same side here, and it's always good talk here on the show, guys. Always good talk.
Rudy.
Yeah,
you play to win, Z. You play to win. We don't have a loser's mentality like you. We don't have a loser's mentality. You play to win the game.
Play to win the game. Herm Edwards.
And for me, I'm going to go ahead and say that the season is not technically over. There's still 4 games to play. I will be cheering on the Steelers every step of the way. And you can find me on State of the Steelers and Behind the Steel Curtain on Saturdays. So with that being said, guys, that's a wrap, y'all. Take it easy. Peace.